Secretary Turner, thank you for agreeing to be our HUD Secretary and leading that department. I want to start by recognizing that reforms you've already begun, refocusing the department on its core mission, cutting waste, rolling back misguided Biden-era regulations, and putting taxpayers and residents first. This is a welcome course correction after years when HUD's bureaucracy expanded while accountability and housing conditions deteriorated. The scale of mismanagement you inherited is enormous. I mean, they called the NYCHA bust one of the largest fraud cases in American history. HUD's Inspector General identified more than 33,000 life-threatening deficiencies in public housing requiring immediate correction, thousands of which were never resolved or even certified as fixed. And when you look at places like NYCHA, like Washington, D.C.'s Public Housing Authority, where she became the acting HUD secretary. When Secretary Fudge resigned, this person who's completely mismanaged Washington, D.C.'s Public Housing Authority, where 50% of the units aren't even available because, not because of racism, because they don't fix the place. They're run down, they're not inhabitable, and all kinds of code violations. So, you know, preventing waste, fraud, and abuse is a core priority for this administration. Beyond DOGE, every department is working on that. So could you give us an update on how that fight to get everybody that does have public housing, quality, safe housing?
Yes, sir. And we are, as you know, holding public housing authorities accountable as it pertains to who's living inside of public housing authorities. I went to NYCHA. Personally, I visited there. While I was there was a 21-year-old young man that was murdered at a NYCHA facility, and no one could know who did the offense, who committed the crime. And so NYCHA has a lot of problems, which I know we don't have time to address today. But for NYCHA and other public housing authorities, we have mandated that they send us a comprehensive account of everyone that's living inside of a HUD-funded home to make sure that American taxpayer dollars are used for American citizens only.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a big problem with a lot of public housing authorities. You know, we don't necessarily have a problem in Ohio where the state government decided intentionally to include illegals in our safety net, but some states do. We were seeing that in Minnesota. And, you know, I will say that, you know, cracking down on scam centers, which is what we do in the national security illicit finance lane, not a hint of partisanship unless the scam center happens to be like a Somali daycare or something like that. So hopefully that too will be bipartisan and will cut down on the fraud, waste, and abuse. When you look at public housing authorities, do you know, or could you get to me, how many are currently in receivership? Because you have local communities, whether it's, right, you know, Toledo, Dayton, Cincinnati, Columbus, Akron, Cleveland, all over Ohio. And it doesn't get the news that Washington, D.C. and NYCHA does, but in Middletown, Ohio, we have problems with public housing. So could you give me a list of all the ones that are in receivership?
Yes, sir, we'll get that to you.
You know, in terms of what kind of legislation could we do right now that would help you be better equipped to do your job? I think about 30 major programs in the, I've got a bill that I was working on with Mr. Cleaver, with Secretary Fudge, that would help reauthorize some of these programs and streamline them. I wanted to get 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats together and make it so you can't just completely eliminate the spending, but you also can't launch more free stuff for more people. So you put the guardrails around, so even if they did agree, they can't do it. But you could refine it and deal with things like benefit cliffs and standard definitions of you know, means tested. We got 3 or 4 different definitions. We got multiple definitions for work requirements. But one of the fundamental problems, you have lots of these programs that in Congress aren't even reauthorized. Now, the appropriators cut the checks, so at some level that gives you the ability to do it. But is there a way that we could be helpful to you as you go and tackle these challenges?
Yes, sir. And, you know, working with Congress and working with the members of this committee and your team, from a legislative standpoint, we're happy to do that. So thank you for asking that. We'll do what we do from HUD, but legislation often does help us as we go forward with our mission.
Yeah, thank you for doing it. And as I say, hopefully we'll be a good resource for you and wish you great success.